This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Walker, and my co-host, Kim, is back again. She was back for one episode, and she barely spoke because she was
Be careful.
2 weeks out of recovery, and I think the pain meds were still getting to her a little bit at the time.
He's being very nice and not saying what he really should not say, which is, I was kind of an idiot.
But she's pretty sane. Well, as sane as she gets anyway. Again, so we're back for an episode where we're going to be talking about stolen leadership and allowing your team to make mistakes. Thank you to our friends at RepairPal for this episode. RepairPal will introduce your shop to new customers through repairpal.com, the largest site for auto repair. Learn more at repairpal.com/shops. And are you ready to convert clients to members? AppFueled specializes in creating custom apps tailored specifically for professional auto repair businesses. Visit appfueled.com to get started today. Keep your shop top of mind on the mobile device they love. Well, Kim, I don't even remember. Where did this stolen leadership term come from? Do you remember?
I'm pretty sure I coined it.
No, I don't think.
I'm going to Google it real quick. I'm going to be like Joe Rogan's research person that he has on his podcast. Have you ever paid attention to that? He's just like, hey, can you find this stat? And then he's like, bam. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, they do it right there. Maybe you did, but I feel like that came from somewhere, not us.
I mean, I'll tell you that I just Googled stolen leadership and there's not much out there.
Yeah. So anyway,
I mean, they're talking about stealing bases on baseball.
Whether it came from us or came from someone else, it is a term that I love. And as we have talked about it to some other people, like some other entrepreneurs and leaders, they love it as well. And the idea of it is someone who comes along who they don't wait for permission to do things. They go in, and I mean, in some cases we've had someone actually steal someone else's job because the other person wasn't doing it that well.
They stole my job.
Well, but you were doing yours well. So we are going to talk about that. Kim's job did get stolen. But we've had another case, and you see, if you're watching this on YouTube or a reel or something right now, you would see that Kim just she did her little happy dance because her job got stolen because she wanted it stolen. In the other case, it wasn't that person wanted their job stolen. It's just that, Well, let me go ahead.
So I do want to share what I did find in my research based on your question of where it come from, because there's not a lot out there. What I'm going to share is AI generated, and it literally has the disclaimer that this is experimental. The only thing that I do really find out there about stolen leadership is not good. What we're talking about is good. It is the positive look on it. So all the stuff Brian just shared, but what AI is telling me is that it's when a leader claims responsibility for a project without acknowledging the contribution of others. It's exploitive, it's toxic, it's abusive, poor listening and communication skills. That is not our definition. So the way we're talking about this is in a very positive light. So with that said, Brian, continue.
Yeah, so I was having lunch with my pastor the other day, and we have a new marketing person on staff at the church, and he's like just anxious to get going with some things. And I was telling our pastor about how when somebody steals leadership, you get the heck out of their way. And you have a choice when somebody steals leadership, and especially if you are a leader. Okay, if you're like one of the leaders in your business, and someone starts doing your job, for example, you can choose to get offended, or you can choose to get the heck out of their way. And when I see somebody still in leadership, I choose to get the heck out of their way. I mean, why would you hold somebody back when they are coming into your organization and saying, I see a need here and I'm just going to do it and I'm not going to ask permission?
Well, I'm going to tell you that when it happened to me, my initial gut reaction was like, oh
That's my
my
job.
gosh, it wasn't so much that's my job as much as it was guilt that I hadn't gotten to that thing yet, or oh my gosh, the rest of my team sees that somebody's doing what I should be doing. And I wrestled with that until finally I was like, wait a minute, that's what I want. I want
Mm-hmm.
someone who anticipates, and I paused to think about the intentions of that person. Like what are they trying to do? What are they going after? And it was
Yeah.
definitely ambition and determination, but in the real basis of it, it was, and I learned this from asking her and thanking her. I was like, hey, thank you for taking care of that. That has been on my list for like 2 months. And she was like, well, I knew that you were busy and I knew you couldn't get to it. And so I just wanted to take care of it. And so when you remove your pride and your focus on yourself and look at the big picture, then you can see maybe a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm of the belief that if your team is not surpassing you in their abilities, that you yourself are not a great leader. You know, I love seeing, and I know that is a little bit different in itself than stolen leadership, but it is an aspect of it. You know, when your team starts becoming better at you than something, and then you take the stolen leadership part of it, where all of a sudden they just come in there and start doing it. I, that to me is just a sign of, okay, I've done something right, and not because they have excelled and you haven't. It's that as a business owner, or even not even if you're not the owner, as a leader, you only have so much time to do the things that you do. And if somebody else sees an opportunity there and they're like, you know what, I know that they don't have the time to be doing all of these things, so I'm going to come fill this hole. I'm going to get really good at this and I'm going to fill this hole. Then what an incredible blessing that is.
Well, I think it says a lot, like you were saying about leadership in general, in that in my particular case, let's just call it what it is Caroline. People know
Mhm.
Caroline. It was Caroline. Is that she felt the open door to be able to say, I know Kim needs to get this done. I'm just gonna, I have time. I'm gonna do it for her. Like, there are leaders that I know personally in this world who are micromanagers, who I want it done this way. And their team members, maybe they want to step in and take care of that thing, but they're like, well, I know that she's going to be mad at me.
Mhm.
I know that she's going to not like the way I did it. Like it, and personally, Brian's going to, he has forgotten about this. When we had Peyton, who was 22 years old, I stayed home for about 4 months, but Brian was working at the dealership all day long. He would come home exhausted, but he would sit on the sofa and feed Peyton. Well, I didn't like the way he fed him, but I learned that cause I wanted him to like hold him like this and feed him and like look at him and talk to him and whatever. But Brian would sit in the sofa with his legs all the way across, relaxing. And then he would prop Peyton up between his legs with Peyton's back on Brian's chest, and he'd hold the bottle and he was connecting with him. But I wanted it the other ways. But in the end, I realized, did the child get fed? Yes.
Mhm.
So
That's like these people that go in there and rearrange the dishwasher after their spouse goes and loads it a different way.
I know you're not throwing shade at me because I did not do that.
No, but that's like a thing.
Oh no. I'm like, did he load the dishwasher? Are the dishes getting clean? Praise the Lord. Thank you. I did not have to do it.
Hmm.
But that's exactly my point, is that she did not feel, or she didn't have that fear of, if I just step in and do this thing. So I think there's some self-reflection that people need to do that are listening to this, to think, am I a micromanager? Am I leaving the door open for people to steal leadership?
If you're a micromanager, people will never steal leadership in your organization. It'll never happen because they can't. But talking about this whole idea of, there's people out there that steal leadership. There are people who do this, and there's people who don't, and you need both in your organization, because now we believe that every person at Shop Marketing Pros is a leader. It's one of our core values is leadership, and I know that that's incredibly predictable. It's right there with integrity. That is another one of our core values. It's like, oh, those are original. Well, you know what? When you actually use these things the way they're supposed to be used, it doesn't matter that they're not original, because what values could you hold in your business that are more important than integrity and leadership? But I'll get off, before I get completely on that soapbox. But you need people. You can only have so many people that are in leadership positions in your business. Everyone can be a leader, but you can only have so many who are in leadership positions. The other ones, you need those worker bees. And the thing about that is, there's nothing wrong with being the worker bee. You in your business, you need it's like you need the person who can be the shop foreman. You need the person who can be that B tech that just gets over there and puts their head down and gets crap done. Because your B tech is the one that you make your money off of anyway. Everybody wants that elusive A tech. Your B tech is where you make your money. And you have to have all of those positions in the business. So, yes, the ones who go out there like we're talking about and steal leadership, we got two examples. We have more than two, actually. We have a few examples in our business of people who have stolen leadership, because we've got Caroline, we've got Haley, and those are the ones that tend to stick out as the ones who have absolutely stolen leadership. But if you think about it, JR stole leadership from the beginning. He was the first one to come in and steal leadership, and when he did it in a big way. But then you have Michelle, who has stolen leadership. And these are the people that they see something and they're chomping at the bit to get in there and do it. They're like, I know that this thing over here needs to be done. I'm not going to ask permission. Maybe they do ask permission, but for the most part, they're not asking permission. They're just getting in there and they're doing the thing that needs to be done, and they're making your business better because of it. And because of that, I mean, Caroline has gone from being a social media manager in our organization to being our chief marketing officer. Haley has been our digital ads manager.
Well, she started as a social media manager.
Yeah, but she became the digital ads manager and website project manager, and now the beginning of 2025 is about to be our chief operating officer. And it's because she has a gift for processes and holding people accountable and all of these things. And she is going to run that for the entire organization, just like Caroline has that gift for marketing and seeing the entire marketing project through and all of that. So they didn't just stand there and see something that needed to be done and do nothing about it. They didn't, even the people that I'm not talking about right now are amazing at their jobs. Like, they're great at doing what they do. But these people were great at doing what they do, and they also looked at these other situations and said, there's a hole, I have to fill that hole.
So this speaks to our God-given natural gifts and abilities. Mm-hmm. We point often to the DISC profile. And with what you were saying a minute ago about you need all the different types of people, I still haven't found how many different, we use the Tony Robbins DISC, but any of these DISC assessments have so many different types, right? And you have to, like you said a minute ago, you have to have all these different people. You don't want everyone to steal leadership because you can't operate that way. But I mean, I even think about Danny, for example, where we don't have an official department head or director or manager over our CSMs, but Danny just took that on. And what you and I don't have time to go determine the processes for CSMs and how do you track this and how do you track that? Like, she's just done it.
Yeah.
And so it's that whole, everybody's got some form of leadership in them. Some people just they're not interested in that, and it's okay. They don't, that's not, if you asked them to step into that position, and that's not okay, EOS, right person, right seat. That's what it comes down to. And so I just don't want anybody to leave this podcast thinking you need to instill more, because it's natural. It's something that just comes from within a person. So yeah.
But when people steal leadership, you have to reward that, because if not, they'll become the leaders for your competition.
And they become if you remember, Brian, when we had already started doing EOS for a while, and you think about the 4 people problems, and I'm going to get these mixed up, but there's right person, right seat, right person, wrong seat, and then the other 2, however you mix that up in there. And our EOS implementer asked us, which of those 4 people problems is the worst problem, is your biggest problem? And resoundingly, we all said, oh my God, wrong person, wrong seat. And he was like, no, try again. And we went through like just all these big conversations. And finally he was like, right person, right seat is your biggest problem. And we were like, what do you mean? And when you think about it, you get this big aha moment. That's the person that you think, oh, they're killing it. They're doing a great job. I don't have to worry about them. I don't have to think about them. I don't have to train them. I don't have to mentor them. I don't have to put any attention or effort. So hopefully, as I was just saying that, it triggered someone. You realize, oh, I see where we're going with this. The right person, right seat, you leave them alone and they get bored. They feel unappreciated, uncared for, unseen. And so taking care of that person and letting them know, like Brian said, reward it, show them that you see it, mentor that, offer further training. Brian talked about Haley. Like, we are talking to a COO whisperer about coming in to, isn't that what she's called? To come in and mentor, coach, and train Haley, because she's never been an operations person before at that level. And then, so get training for people when they show you, and then you see, well, they could be tweaked a little bit in this area. We do a lot of mentoring here. So even with Caroline, when we moved her, from social media manager to the director of that social team, and then ultimately into the CMO position, as you go through those changes and people learn and grow and step up in different ways, I don't want to call it issues, but I don't know what new things are revealed, and you have to work through, and they need to be coachable. And then you need to either be the one that's coaching them or find someone who's going to coach them through those transitional times.
Yeah. Now, another big part of this, and I mean, it's in the title of this podcast, but it's allowing people to make mistakes. And that goes along with the not micromanaging and all of that. But you have to be willing to let people make mistakes when they are growing, when they are learning, when they are figuring out how to do things. You have to allow them to make mistakes. I see discussions that happen in these industry Facebook groups sometimes, where not long ago I saw one. The person was talking about a technician that they have that's a great tech, rarely makes mistakes, and they had a comeback that did some damage to an engine, and they wanted to start like taking money out of the technician's paycheck for this. And the industry set them straight really quick, and these are a bunch of shop owners that are basically in there saying, you're the shop owner. When you decided to open a business, you're the one who takes on that kind of risk. And you're already saying that this person is a great technician otherwise, and you're going to want to dock their pay because they're having a rare comeback that they normally do. And look, you just don't do stuff like that. And it's not only that you are the business owner and you're the one who decided to take on those responsibilities. It's that when you punish people every time they make a mistake, the only thing that they're going to learn from that is that they need to hide their mistakes when they make them. And that is one of the worst problems that you can have in your business, is when people want to hide their mistakes and everybody wants to like not take ownership of a mistake. I've talked about, the whole idea of extreme ownership on this podcast many times. And, it's an amazing book that you should go read by Jocko Willink. But in our business, people make mistakes all the time. We are so far from perfect. Just before recording this episode, I read an email from a client that, was telling us about quite a few mistakes that we made on their account. And I wish I had known about that earlier rather than getting it all at once, so that we could, fix these things one thing at a time. But our people, when they make a mistake, they tell us and we can fix it. And they learn from those mistakes. When you don't allow people to make mistakes, or when you want to punish somebody every time they make a mistake, they don't learn from those mistakes. The only thing that they do, like I said, is they learn to hide from their mistakes, or to hide their mistakes, or to run from their mistakes every time that they make a mistake. But people are not perfect, and they're going to screw up every once in a while. And you have to allow people to do that. Now, I'm not saying that you let people just make repeated mistake, one after another, because you shouldn't do that. But I think back to when I was a young first year Mercedes technician. This would have been 1995, and I had the privilege of working on the Mercedes M104 inline 6-cylinder engine. Great engine. But if it wasn't leaking oil, it didn't have oil in it. And the upper front timing cover was one of the most common repairs that we did on those cars at the time. I'm a brand new technician, straight out of tech school, and they're giving me these repairs to do. And I had made a really bad name for myself in that first year because of these upper timing covers. I had lots of comebacks on them. And the thing is nobody had ever really taken the time to show me how to do it. Even when I had a handful of comebacks on them, people were not taking the time to show me how to do this. And one day I walk over to the technician next to me, a guy named Shane Forbes, still to this day, best tech that I know of. I recommend everybody to his shop. He owns his own shop now. But Shane became my mentor. But I walked over to him and said, "Hey man, I keep having these, like I keep rolling this seal." And any of y'all who are listening, if you're a tech and you're at a general shop, you've probably, or if you're a Euro shop, you've definitely done these upper timing cover reseals. They have this U-shaped seal on the bottom of the upper timing cover, and I would replace that seal, and I would try to push that upper timing cover straight in, and I would roll that gasket, or I would cut that gasket when I was doing it. And I did it almost every time. Again, I'm a young tech. I had zero experience when I went from high school, never worked on cars professionally, to tech school, to the Mercedes dealership. I had zero experience. I didn't even know how to use my tools, really. But I asked Shane to show me how to do it. And Shane comes over there and shows me one time how to do it. And I don't think I ever had another one come back after that. And it wasn't that I was just being careless. It was because I didn't know. But finally, I learned from my mistake. And once I learned from my mistake, I never made that mistake again. And you can't make your business a place where mistakes are not allowed, because as soon as you do that, you're just going to have a lot of problems that you don't want to have.
Yep. I don't really have anything to add to that.
So the big thing that I want you to take from this episode, and look, I know we've been talking, I've done a lot of episodes lately that are not marketing, and probably going to do a lot more that are not marketing. And despite this being the auto repair marketing podcast, I get in my head about that. And Kim was all the time, it doesn't matter.
Well, because in my mind, this is marketing. Like,
Yeah.
you're talking about the leaders you have within, I can see we share on social media when somebody moves to a new position, or we spotlight or highlight something that they've done. Like, it totally, it's not marketing,
Yeah.
the traditional definition, but it
But
can be part of your marketing.
we've been doing a lot of these episodes lately, though, that are not about marketing, and I have a lot more that we're going to do that are not about marketing. And I hope that you're okay listening to stuff like this. The big thing is when somebody steals leadership in your organization, you have the opportunity to get offended, or you have the opportunity to get out of their way. And I would really encourage you to get the heck out of their way and let them become the leaders that you need in your organization. Because as you grow, as you become, a bigger shop, as you become an MSO, if you ever decide to do that, you need these leaders in your organization, and you need to set the example for them too, so that when somebody goes to steal their leadership, that they don't get offended, that they get the heck out of the way.
I'm going to share one last quick thing, and that is that I saw a friend of ours, even a client of ours, post in a group recently about how happy he was that he was able to leave the shop and he came back and everything was handled great. That is that in a nutshell is stealing leadership. And I remember commenting and saying, tell him, like, there's too many missed opportunities in this industry. I hear about them all the time, where leaders are not recognizing their team members. And I don't remember if this was a reply somewhere, but somebody said, oh, he knows. Or, like, it was essentially, it was like, yeah, I hear you, Kim. Let them know. But like, why would you not be out of town, come back, see that the shop ran great because this person handled everything? You're not coming back to fires. And literally take the minute to say, wow, I really appreciate how you handled everything while I was gone last week. Like, even if it's just that simple. So
Yeah.
anyways,
This is episode 132 that you're listening to right now. And episode 134 is going to be about the art of slowing down. And you can't slow down without the kind of people that we're talking about. You can't do it. So anyway, glad that you listened in today. I want to thank our sponsors again, Repair Pal and App Fueled. We could not do this without them. We are one of a handful of podcasts on the Aftermarket Radio Network. You can find the others at aftermarketradionetwork.com. I hope you'll listen in again next week. And until then, go fill those bays.